What's up everyone, Chef Dave back with another cooking video, and today we're going to talk Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras starts tomorrow, Fat Tuesday, and one thing I've always wanted to make and I've never made before is actually king cake. So we're going to go on a little bit of a journey together, and we're going to make this king cake, something I really enjoy. I took a couple different ideas from a couple different recipes and research that I've done to make what I think might be a pretty great king cake. We'll see when we get there at the end. This cake is great for a couple of reasons. One, it's delicious. Two, its longevity is pretty good. You've got 3 days to eat it, essentially, if it's just left out. A little bit longer if you're storing it in the refrigerator. It can actually freeze, I think, up to 3 months in your freezer. It's a cool cake that I think a lot of people will enjoy, and especially for this time of year, I think it'd be fun to make. I'm not putting a baby in mind, but we'll talk about that later. I just don't have a plastic baby. I'm doing this recipe in sort of 2 steps, where actually last night I made the dough. I let it semi-rise in the refrigerator overnight. My fridge is crazy cold, so it was almost too cold for the dough to rise. I took it out and I left it out for like 4 hours in a kind of a warm place, and it rose beautifully. You can do this that way if you don't want to make a mess the next day. You can do it in 2 stages. You can obviously do this right back to back, let it rise for 2 hours, and you're good. It's just an option for you guys to explore. I've got the dough made. That's ready to go. Let's do it. So the ingredients we will need to make the dough for our king cake: 3 eggs, 1 healthy tablespoon of vanilla, 125 grams of sugar, 350 grams of warmed milk, 900 grams of AP flour, 5 grams of, this is instant yeast. We also have 7 grams of sea salt and 1 stick of unsalted butter. Let's put this together. What we want to do, we've got our KitchenAid set up with our dough hook. So we want to put in our base wet ingredients, if you will. Our 3 eggs, our vanilla, our sugar, our milk. All right, and we're just gonna mix this for probably about 2 minutes, just to kind of incorporate things, maybe break the eggs up a little bit. Put this on. Up the speed to about medium speed, just to really whip things up. Alright, so after about 2 minutes, that's what we're left with. Everything's really kind of whipped up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to unlock this, and we are going to add our flour gently at first. Once it's a little bit more manageable, we're going to leave a little bit of this flour behind just to make sure, I believe it's going to take all the flour. Maybe about a cup or so behind. You can always add, you can't subtract. We're going to start mixing this on the oven. Once we start mixing it, we're going to add our yeast. All right, now once we have this kind of dough, we're going to start adding our butter in a couple pieces at a time. And we're going to up the mixer speed just slightly. The dough will continue to kind of work on itself. Don't worry too much that it's sticking out a little. Just make sure the butter doesn't fall out or anything like that. Now that the butter is pretty well incorporated, we're still going to need for another 3 or 4 minutes, but we're going to add our salt. A little bit more flour. So we're going to leave probably about a little less than half a cup, maybe a quarter cup of flour behind probably in the end. All right, so the dough's come together really well. We're going to knead this for just about 2 minutes by hand. Lightly flour our surface. We're just going to take this out of the bowl. A little flour on top. A little more flour. Classic kneading. All right, just like that. Forward, quarter turn, fold over the top. Forward, quarter turn, over the top. Okay, and then take these little bits, kind of get them in there. And keep doing this for just about 2 minutes. You're just bringing it all together. You need to put a little more flour down. Please do. A little more flour. That's almost all the flour. Beautiful dough here. Just form it into a ball. Take the last bit of flour, you can sprinkle it on top. Save it on the bottom. Okay. You're gonna take your bowl, you're gonna put a little neutral oil in there. Not a lot, just about 2 tablespoons worth. Okay. And then you're gonna, just with the back of your hand, coat the walls of the bowl really well. We're gonna take our dough, plop it in there, push it down, and then rotate it. Push it down, and just get your hands around it like that. Just because you want to make sure you get that dough wet. You got 2 options. You can either rise this on your countertop in a draft-free area covered for about 1.5 to 2 hours, depending on your ambient temperature. Or you're gonna do like I do. I'm going to put this in the fridge. I'm gonna let this rise until it's doubled in the morning. And then when I wake up at about 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'm gonna pull this out and I'm gonna let this temper at room temperature for 2 hours. But before we do that, some plastic wrap. And you're just keeping the refrigerator draft off of it. A couple options when it comes to filling a king cake. You can do no filling. That's always an option if you're not into a filling. You can do just kind of a brown sugar filling, which is essentially just brown sugar, half a stick of butter, and some cinnamon. You can do a cream cheese and powdered sugar filling, which is nice as well. Or you can do, what I'm going to do is a combination of the two, essentially. Making a cream cheese, brown sugar filling. So for that, we need 8 ounces of cream cheese, just 1 pack. A 1.5 cups of brown sugar. This is dark brown sugar. I just always have dark brown sugar. If you don't have dark brown, you can use light brown sugar. It's not a big deal. And then about 4 tablespoons of cinnamon. And so basically we're just going to whisk it up really, really well. So we're just going to add our sugar. Add our cinnamon. Basically, we're going to break up the sugar. And whip it up. That's what you're looking for. So now let's roll out our dough. So we got our dough from last night, just wrapped up still. And we're going to turn this out. Boom. Flour on top. Oh yeah, we got a nice texture on our dough here. It's really, really nice. This dough is really beautiful, very soft. You can tell it's a rich dough. You can almost do most of it by hand until you get to the ends here. Flip it over. Alright. Let's get this in our general direction. Let me take our rolling pin and just basically what we're looking for. I'm going to cut it down the middle. Now we'll see, maybe we have a little extra filling. Less is more in a case like this. I don't know if that makes sense, but less is a little bit more. Okay? We don't want to put too much on here, but we don't want to skip out either. Can come to the back edge, but you do want to leave yourself a lip up front for sure to roll onto. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's looking for perfect here. You can put nuts in here if you wanted to. I've seen that once or twice before. All right, now basically I'm going to cinnamon roll this up. You're going to pinch this closed when you get there. And that includes the ends as well. Same with this side. Shift this one back a little bit. Now, inevitably, while you're baking this, some is going to come out. Don't worry too much about it. Now, some people will do this into a 3 pieces to braid it. I am totally fine with the 2-piece braid. And we do want to try to put our pinch side down if we can help it. Now, pretty simply, you're just going to braid this. Pinch that all together. Line a baking sheet with parchment gingerly. Move it over. Want to spread this back out. Okay, we'll take care of that. What we can do too is just to get these ends to stick and just wet them a little bit. Little wetness goes a long way. Now I like to make sure that this spreads out a little bit, if I can help it. Just so when it rises now, it doesn't completely close the circle in the middle. Take this, we're going to let this sit covered. I'm just going to cover it with a towel. Let it rest for about 30 to 45 minutes. Here we go. That is what we're working with. It is absolutely stunning. Beautiful, beautiful. What you want to do is you want to take a temperature to check for doneness. You just take a temperature just right in one of these little cracks with the thermometer. You want it to hit about 195 or so. Between 190 and 195. This is actually a little hotter. I left this in maybe about 4 minutes too long because it's just at about 200. I'm okay with that. I guess a little more is better than less, especially since we have the internal filling that will really help keep that moisture intact inside. So I'm not really that worried about it. But we do bake this at 350 for 35 to 40 minutes. Now we're going to let this cool completely before we garnish it in the classic king cake fashion with our colored sprinkles and our icing. We'll probably also change parchment paper, little odds and ends there. So you just want to remove that, put it on a fresh piece of parchment, and then garnish it at will. So we'll bring it back once this is ready to garnish. All right, now that our king cake is cooled off in its entirety, these are the ingredients we're going to need to finish. We've got 2 cups of powdered sugar. We're going to need about a tablespoon or so of lemon juice, just squeeze a little bit. 2 tablespoons of butter melted, and we need about 3 to 4 tablespoons of milk, depending on consistency you're looking for. We'll also need just a little touch of vanilla extract. And then this is to finish. We've got the 3 classic colors. We've got yellow or gold, green, and purple. And then I even got some proper gold just to sprinkle across the whole thing. Let's do it. A little bit of vanilla paste in there. Just a nice dollop. About 3 tablespoons in. We always add, can't really take away. And just with my hand, because I don't want to dirty anything else, squeeze of lemon juice. Then we just take our whisk and whip it up. Now we'll see if we need any more liquid. I think this is probably going to be good though. Whip it up. You don't want it too thin or else it'll just drizzle off the cake. But that is exactly what you're looking for. Nice and smooth. Now let's set up to do the cake. So here we are. Now I will be the first to say that I am not what you would call a great decorator of cakes or anything like that. So my prediction for this is that it will probably come out somewhat maybe childish looking, but whatever. It is what it is. It's you can't have everything, I guess. Now is a good time if you are going to put a baby into it. You can sneak into one of these cracks and push it in, or one of these inside cracks and push it in. That's, again, option to you. I'm not putting one in personally. What we want to do here is, again, I'm going to go over the top. And you want to work, I don't want to say fast, but sort of fast, because you don't want it to dry before you have a chance to put the sprinkles on. Just to get it started, we will get that cake going. Now you do want this to be, I would say room temp is the proper temp of cooling for this. I don't necessarily think you would want it ice cold, because then the icing will probably be a little bit too hard to spread around. Having it just about room temp will just allow you to spread the icing a little easier, if you will. Seems to be the right amount of icing for the cake. Let's put a little here. And of course, if you were to go over the top stuffing of the baby, you can always use icing to clog the hole. We'll start with our green. And you're kind of going to go opposites. Purple. Finish up with the gold. And then there we have it. Our king cake. Pretty easy. We'll cut this open and give it a taste. Let's cut a piece. Feels good. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Look at that. I'm gonna flip it onto my hand. Look at that. That looks awesome. Yes. How awesome does that look? Oh, let's give this a taste. Feels moist. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's delicious. Very moist. I could see how holding it back those extra 5 minutes that I did and making sure it only cooks to 195 would maybe help just a little bit, but that's so good. That's really good. I'm telling you, if you were to bring this to someone's home, lights out. They'll love you forever. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Do this at home. Well, there you have it, everyone. King cake for Mardi Gras. First attempt. Had a blast doing it. It's definitely kind of time consuming just because there's a lot of weight. The actual work involved isn't that bad, but the waiting involved, waiting for the dough to rise, then waiting for the second rise, and then cooking it, waiting for it to cool. Those are all long kind of waits of sorts. Some longer than others, but it definitely adds to the time it takes to make this. However, if you walked in to a festive occasion circled around Mardi Gras, I mean, how could you go wrong? It's fantastic, delicious, fun, beautiful. Even for someone like me who's not very artistic as far as decorating is concerned, I would appreciate if someone brought me something like this. And don't forget, you can also take this exact recipe, cut the dough in half, and then follow those same steps of rolling out and cutting in half, and make 2 smaller king cakes and share them with your friends. This is kind of big, but I'm gonna cut a bunch of pieces and give it to my family and stuff. So I can never eat all this. I probably could, but if you enjoyed this, I hope you guys have a happy Mardi Gras. Take the time to do this. It's fun, it's fantastic, and people will appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Peace.